Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of I Made a Podcast. My name is Chris Creary and I'm so glad that you are here checking out this episode. I know it's going to bless you. I know you're going to learn a lot from it. For all my podcasters out there, I'm here to help you to get better at podcasting, sharing my wisdom and the wisdom of the other people that I interview on a regular basis here on the podcast. So thank you for tuning in today. So this is the end of April that I'm releasing this episode. I started season number 2 at the beginning of April. Now, if you want to go back and listen to any of the past episodes that I did in this month, they were really powerful, I think, and I think you will learn a lot from some of the stuff that I covered. At the beginning of April, I talked about how to create content consistently without burning yourself out, and I think that's an important one for all of my podcasters and YouTubers out there, anyone who creates content regularly, how to do it without killing yourself, because you don't want to be so burnt out that you don't have time to enjoy life. After that episode from the beginning of April, I spoke to Matt Drinkon, and he has a podcast called the Eternal Optimist Podcast. Now, this was a wonderful conversation that I had with him. He shared us some tips and some tricks of how you can land big clients on your podcast. So you can go and listen to that episode for some of the insights that he shared. And after I spoke with Matt, I released an episode with Sue Saller, and she has a podcast called Small Steps, Big Wins Podcast. So you can listen to that conversation that I had with her because she shared some really insightful things about podcasting that she has learned over her 2.5 years of being a podcaster. And last week I released an episode with Chris Paniotu, and I hope I pronounced his name right. I think I did. But he has a podcast called Capitalize Your Finances, and Chris is doing a great job with his podcast and everything that he's doing. And we went over his process flow and how he works with guests that come into his studio to record podcast episodes. And he sets the bar really high and he treats them like royalty. I love what Chris is doing when it comes to podcasting. So these are just the previous episodes that I released earlier this month. So today, what I'm talking about is 5 things that you should avoid doing or thinking about as a new podcaster, and 5 things that you should focus on as a new podcaster. So as always, I don't try to wing it off the top of my head, even though I probably could, but I got my notes right here. So I'm just going to read my points off of my notes and deliver them to you so I don't miss any of the goodness that I wrote down here. All right, so let's get to this. So the 5 things that you should avoid. First of all, number 1, don't even worry about having the perfect voice, okay? So your unique voice and style are what makes your podcast authentic. Listeners connect with you and not a radio perfect voice. Focus on clarity and energy instead of perfection. So your voice doesn't need to sound like a professional broadcaster. What matters more is the authenticity, the energy, and how you connect with your audience. Many of the podcasters out there right now actually have very unique voices or unconventional voices, something that you're not used to hearing, and they are actually becoming very successful because they stand out from the crowd. So don't try to sound like anybody else. Just be you. Allow your voice to come out. The thing that you should focus on is the clarity and the energy that you can bring with your podcast and your voice, because everybody has a voice. So you can use your voice effectively and efficiently with energy and clarity, and then you'll connect with the people that you are made to connect with. Number 2, don't worry about getting thousands of downloads and listens. Yes, I know we all want to get people listening to our podcast and downloading it, but don't worry about it. So growth, it takes time. So don't stress about how many downloads and how many listens you have and how many people are interacting with your social media in the early days. Instead, build consistent content and engage with your niche audience. And that's a very big one. So podcasting, it's a long game. Very few shows go viral overnight. Okay, so instead of stressing out over how many people have downloaded your podcast, focus on building a loyal audience and engaging with those people regularly. When it comes to podcasts, it's always quality over quantity. Trust me. So number 3 is don't compete with the big podcasts out there. Now think about this for a second. You're not trying to be the next Joe Rogan or one of the shows on NPR. Focus on serving your specific audience well. That's what you should do. Big shows have big teams and big budgets and a lot of people working on them to do a whole bunch of stuff, and they can afford to spend as much money as they have to make things look really nice and polished when they put it out there. So don't focus too much on that if you're a solo podcaster or if there's only a couple of you working together on a podcast. Success comes through delivering consistent value to your people, not by becoming someone else. So be you and deliver valuable content to your audience. And the fourth thing that you shouldn't worry about as a new podcaster is fancy gear. Now, I know, it might seem nice to have like the nice microphones, the camera, and all the other gear and equipment and stuff that you can get, the new computers. But I always say this, you want to focus on technique more so than tools. If you can master your technique with mic placement and how you position the camera and your lighting and stuff like that, if you can master that technique on the most basic or no equipment and you can make a difference, you will see that you don't need the expensive tools to actually have a great sounding podcast. I actually would even advise you not to even worry about it. I know that there are podcasters who actually recorded their podcast on their cell phone in a closet to produce good sounding audio, and it has worked for them. So prioritize technique over tools, and don't worry about spending a lot of money to get all of the fancy tools and equipment when you're just starting out on your podcast. And the fifth thing that you don't need to worry about is negative feedback or criticism. Yes, it's going to happen. It's going to come. People will be negative and they might say, oh, I don't like your shirt. I don't like your, bald head. I don't like your voice. They might say all of these things in the comment. These people, they're out there and they might come after you. So just settle that in your heart right now that might happen. But not everyone will love your show, and that's okay. Constructive feedback is gold. Okay, so when people do give constructive feedback, that is something that you should listen to. But when the trolls get out there and they say foolishness to you, don't even worry about it. But expect them to comment. Expect them to say things about that don't even have any type of connection to podcasting. Maybe they might not like my glasses. That's like, who cares? So don't worry about the trolls. They're out there. Expect them. Don't worry about them. Now, if someone gives you constructive feedback, and I'll give you an example. When I started this podcast, someone came on the podcast and said, Chris, you did a great job. I would have liked to hear a little bit more from the person that you were interviewing instead of you jumping in and interjecting every time they finished a sentence. And that was kind of constructive because I know I was summarizing what the person was saying, but that was kind of constructive. So I share that as an example that people in the comments, sometimes you might find trolls, but other times you might find people who leave constructive comments. But what I'm saying for this point is expect the trolls to come out and say stuff, but ignore the comments, ignore some of the negative feedback, okay? Now, we talked about the 5 things that you should not focus on. Let's talk about 5 things that you should put your focus on, okay? Number 1, consistency. Yes, you need to be consistent as a podcaster. The reason why you need to be consistent is because the people who are listening to you, they set their schedule and they want to anticipate when a next episode is going to be released from you. So if you set your schedule to release an episode every Tuesday, like how I do this season, every Tuesday, the people who love to hear my voice on I Made a Podcast, they are expecting to open up their phones and see my podcast, a new episode downloaded onto their device. They're expecting it and they want to hear it. So create that consistency for your audience. It will help them to stay engaged with you. It will help them to connect with you, and it will help them to consume your content. The flip side is if you are not consistent, people might listen to you once today and not know when to come back to your podcast to listen to you again, and you might lose the opportunity to gain a subscriber. So keep that in mind. Have a schedule and try your best to remain consistent. It doesn't have to be every day or every week. It could be once a month, whatever works for you, but stay consistent. Number 2 is deliver value. So you don't want to get on a podcast and just talk about anything. you want to make sure that whatever it is that you're talking about, that you're actually delivering value, something that will be beneficial to the person that is listening to it on the other end. Now, I don't mean that everything needs to be educational. It could be entertainment. You might have a podcast about comedy, right? But by delivering your comedy podcast or your conversation about whatever is going on in current trends, you are actually delivering value because it's something that someone wants to listen to. So make sure that you are focusing on the value that you are delivering through your podcast content. Make sure that it's valuable to your listeners. Number 3 is audience engagement, and this is very important. This is how your podcast actually grows. You have to be engaged with your audience. So encourage feedback, ask questions, respond to comments. That maybe you put things on social media, respond to comments, and make them feel like they are part of the journey with you as you are producing and creating your content. Engagement with your content will make your listeners feel like they are part of your tribe or with you in the studio or as you're recording your podcast. And it helps to build a loyal community. So make sure that you are engaging with your audience. Don't just publish an episode and expect, people to just listen to it and you don't say anything about it. But when people say stuff about your episodes, engage with them, talk to them about it, share some more insights, additional insights about that topic. Engage with your audience. This is a big one, and I think it will help a lot of people. The 4th thing that you should focus on as a new podcaster is audio quality. It is extremely important. Now, I know I mentioned you shouldn't worry about the gear that you have, but as I mentioned before, you need to focus on technique. Now, I listen to a lot of podcasts and I speak to a lot of podcasters, and the thing that bothers me so much is when I read the description of a podcast or a title and I see what it's about, and I want to listen to it, and it's a good topic, and I'm excited to listen to it. But then the audio quality is terrible. It's like I can't even bother listening to it no more because it just sucks. The audio quality is just muffly, echoey, and it's just no good. Too clippy, different volume levels for the different people on the episode. We need to focus on the audio quality. So use proper technique when it comes to mic placement. And if you're in a room with a lot of echo, try going into a different room. Maybe you can record your podcast in your closet if it's just an audio podcast, if that works. Or do something to treat your room acoustically so that the audio quality is top notch, because that is a really, really big point that will help people stay engaged and listen to the full episode of your podcast. And the 5th thing that you should focus on is marketing and promotion. I think I just mentioned this actually a little while ago. You can't just click publish and do nothing. You have to promote. So share clips on social media, put quotes down on Facebook of certain things that you may have said or other guests said in your podcast. Share reels on social media, collaborate with some of the guests that you have had on your podcast, and then you can use your email list to share new episodes as you release them. All right, so get the content out there, get the word out there about what you have just created, because you believe that it's beneficial for the people that you intended to listen to it. So if you don't tell people about it, they won't know. So publishing is just half the job. Share audiograms. There are a lot of tools out there that are free, like Headliner, that you can use where you can just have the static image of your podcast cover artwork, and you can create an audiogram for free. The free version is there, and you can share that on social media. Share little teasers about future episodes that you're going to release, because all of these things help to get the word out and to get people excited about what you are producing with your podcast. So these are 5 things that you should avoid as a new podcaster and 5 things that you should focus on as a new podcaster. I'll put them all on the screen here somewhere so that you can see them, and make sure that you are focusing on the things that you should really be focusing on as a podcaster. Don't worry about the things that don't matter, because they will just confuse you, they will burn you out, and it will cause you to lose the momentum that you're building with your podcast, okay? But focus on the things that really matter. All right. And that's it for this episode of I Made a Podcast. I hope that you got something out of this episode, and I hope that you learned something new. I want to ask if there is anything that you think I missed from this episode, either things that you should avoid doing or things that you should do. Can you put it in the comments? Let me know if there's something that I missed, and we can share it. Maybe I might do a part 2 of this episode with the things that you share in the comments. So whatever platform you're using to listen to this, put it in the comments. If it's on Spotify or if you're watching this on social media, put it in the comments, or you could even just send me an email and I'll be able to reply back to you. My email is in the description. You can just message me. Now, next week, I'm releasing a podcast interview that I did with a podcast that is called Beyond I Do. It's a podcast about relationships and marriage. So you're going to want to check that out, because the conversation that I had with this couple, we could have talked for maybe about 2 or 3 hours, but I was running out of time, right? But we had a wonderful conversation. So you're going to want to subscribe, and you can catch that episode next week. And if you want to join my live class that I'll be teaching soon, there is a link in the description for the waitlist. I am teaching a class on podcasting. It's very limited. I'm only going to have open a few spots, because it's going to be a live class where you have the opportunity to speak with me and ask me questions, and we can work on your podcast together to get it out there. There's a wait list in the description that you can click on and add yourself to the list, so that you can, when I am ready to release the course, when it's all said and done and I have everything set up and good to go for you. Now, I want to remind you about my podcasting course that will be coming out soon. It's a live course, so you are going to be sitting with me on a week-to-week basis, and we're going to go through every single step of the podcast from idea to launch. Now, right now, I have a wait list for all of the people who want to join the class. And if you want to join the wait list because you want to be part of this class and have this time with me to ask your questions about how to do this or what I should do and how do I need to format this or do that or whatever about podcasting, I'm going to be here for you, and you can ask me those questions directly. So if you want to join that class, go onto the wait list. The link is in the description. You can add your information, and then when the class is ready to be released, you will be the first to know. Okay, so the link for that is in the description. But that's all I have to say for this episode, and I hope that you learned something. Remember, the best time to start a podcast was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. So let's make it happen. I'll see you next week on I Made a Podcast. Peace.